All right, okay. I'm gonna get into some information. It's throughout this book called The Dark Lord. It's written by Peter Levenda. As you can see, uh, all I'm gonna say is similarities. Similarities are hilarious. You see you see the zodiac surrounding the Dark Lord. Um, Also, when you say they not combat, but the similarities with the Dark Lord are with Shiva, which is also a sexual and also an intellectual uh, deity. But it's dealing with H.P. Lovecraft, Kenneth Grant, and the Typhonian tradition in magic, and also gets into some Aleister Crowley stuff too. Also, okay, there are, however, certain sites sacred to the Yezidis. The Yezidis, or what you would find them close, what they call now near the Middle East, or Babylonia. So which would be um, Iraqi area. So notice how you have the U.S. government over in that area after they had the so-called 9/11 situation. 9/11 is Lakshmi. So they were trying to feed a deity which is sacred to melanated people, because we came up with all these mythologies. So anyway, but that you got to think about that. But yeah, so you find the Yazidis, but the Yazidis, you find, it's Persia. Um, well, let me just Pakistan. See, these are all areas. Pakistan, Persia. See, Persia, like, which is Iran. So you'll find these areas that the government is in. But notice. I remember when Barack Obama said he was going to bring the troops back. I remember he had 8 years. Nothing really transpired from that because these people can't come back. They involve themselves with something called Kamsin. Kamsin is like a wind, or like a kind of dirt. When you breathe it, it messes you up on the inside. So these people that they say are coming back, they're not coming back. If they're coming back, they're going to be cloned, but they're not. They're never coming back. It's been over 8 years since Barack Obama was in office, and he was going to bring them back. They never coming back. So remember, they're never coming back because they're sick. They're sick over there. So they went and opened something that they wasn't supposed to open. They go into these spiritual sites and run into something that's a brick wall, or a wall they can't see, but the wall is not just defensive, it's offensive. Campson. Okay. All right. Okay. There are certain sites. There are, however, certain sites sacred to the Yazidis which have for Grant occult significance, basing his information on Ishya, Joseph's the devil worshippers, but without attribution. He mentions 5 cult zones, which is Lalish, the center of the Yazidi religion already mentioned, and another which is called variously Warhin Sahar or Goran Sahar, meaning the sunken city. Okay, the sunken city, which recalls the sunken city of Rayleigh, where great Cthulhu waits dreaming. So it's pretty much, that's like almost like a metaphor. You know what I'm saying? Like where the great Cthulhu sits dreaming. The inside of melanated people. Inside, we have to go into that deep, that monster on the inside, and awaken it by doing certain things. And as you can see, relay text. This was written by, remember, we have research, transcribed, and annotated by Robert Turner. And this is like let's see, a double. If you get it with this together with the Necronomicon and relay text, you get these together, it's like they walk into each other, because Cthulhu and the Necronomicon are in, like, or Cthulhu is, they say, like you just said. Let me see. Meaning the sunken, like Goran Sahar or Warden Sahar, meaning the sunken city, which recalls the sunken city of Rayleigh, the Rayleigh text, where great Cthulhu waits dreaming. We are now in a position to appreciate Crowley's claim to have continued in and through the lemma, the major tenets of the Yezidi cult. Okay, now, as mentioned previously, Crowley believed his supermundane contact and holy guardian angel Awas to have been a god of ancient Sumer, which is Sumeria. The Yezidis claim a Sumerian ancestry for their people and their religion, and indeed reverence a form of Shaitan or Set, which is all the same. The Dark Lord, right? Okay. Further, the official seal of the Yezidi clan depicts not only the peacock of Melektos, 104, indeed, as one Yezidi leader said to a journalist at the time of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq. See that? Indeed, as one Yezidi leader said to a journalist at the time of the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in 2002, Melektos means the ancient one. Okay, and melanated people, black people, are ancient people. When they say ancient, they're always speaking about so-called black people. All right, but also cuneiform inscriptions plus the ancient Sumerian cuneiform symbol for God. Okay, the 8-pointed star. Yeah, we about to get into some shit now. Grant the peacock is, let's see. Thus, make sure you see everything I'm reading. Thus, for Grant, the peacock is a phallic symbol because the eyes on the peacock's feather represents the meatus of the phallus. Okay, meatus of the phallus. It could be the phallus means penis. You have two penises. Okay. The male is the positive and the female is the negative, which goes in, right? So we the black melanated men and women have pineal glands, right? And they also have they have two penises, one in the head and one down bottom. The female is a negative because it goes inward. The male is positive because it goes outward, right? Okay. Represents the meatus of the phallus, which is why the cock was typical of Yezid, Yezidi Tribe. Okay, 106, Grant Outer Gateways. According to Grant, he actually wrote Outer Gateways as a book. Okay, as you can see, Grant Outer Gateways, page 103. According to Grant, the word Yezid signifies one of the three persons in one God of the Yezidi, the other two being Melektos and Sheikh Adi, the latter of whom many scholars assume was the real creator of the Yezidi clan, although this is still hotly contested. Grant's theology here is suspect. The eyes and the tail of the peacock, or the meatus and the phallus of Yezid, are equally connotated and are presumed in the glyph of the eye of the triangle, which forms part of the emblem of the OTO. Kaf signifies both the palm of the hand and the kaf ape, which typified, among other things, the open eye or the exposed meatus of the circumcised penis. See? Other things in the open eye, the pineal gland, or exposed meatus of the circumcised penis in a state of erection, thus denoting the ever wakeful one. Okay. We begin to realize that virtually everything in the cosmos can be interpreted sexually or using sexual metaphor, and that this is a hallmark of the Twilight language. Aleister Crowley himself makes this point when he writes, I have myself constructed numerous ceremonies where it is frankly admitted that religious enthusiasm is primarily sexual in character. I have insisted that sexual excitement is merely a degraded form of divine ecstasy. Sexual feeling is really the root of all ethics, and no doubt of asceticism and religion. The sublimest virtues, even the sacrifice of self, may spring from sexual life, which, however, on account of its sensual power, may easily degenerate into the lowest passion and basest vice. Basest vice. You can see what I'm reading. Basest vice. Love unbridled is a volcano that it burns down and lays waste all around it. It is an abyss that devours all honor, substance, and health. Thus, at its core, sexuality is a pure atomic energy. It can be used for peaceful purposes or for creating weapons. Remember, it's the mind. The mind. While you in the middle of having sex or before having sex, both will be very positive for anything you're trying to get accomplished. It can be used for peaceful purposes or for creating weapons. The irony lies in the fact that it may sometimes be necessary to have an atomic bomb, i.e., that for the species to survive, a means of that for the species to survive, a means of protection is often required. This is the basis of Tantra, which sees sexuality as a metaphor, as the creative process, as a means of uniting with the divine, and as a means of acquiring occult powers. It is also as good a description as any of the double nature of Set in the Egyptian context, and why Set is associated with sexual ritual and magic by Grant. While many of the rituals of the Yezidi are largely secret, to which outsiders are rarely, if ever, invited, there is still no evidence that they engage in sexual ceremonies or elaborate tantric style magical procedures. They may satisfy the requirements of Crowley and grant that they represent a connection with ancient Sumer and with the worship of the old god, Sumeria, Shaitan, or Set. And while such may be romanticized projections by Orientalist observers, what is to be respected is that they have not abandoned their faith, even under dire oppression by a host of hostile entities. They maintain their ritual purity, their sacred calendar, their beliefs, and their rights in the face of Iraqi, Russian, Muslim, and even Kurdish opposition. They refuse to intermarry or to accept outsiders into their religion, a religion that is identified not only with their beliefs but with their ethnicity as well. It is the mere fact of their existence that has intrigued and excited European and American occultists. For here is a clan whose religion is so far removed from anything else in the region as to appear bizarre to outsiders, and who claim and religion in the vanished civilization of Sumeria, and who worship a god that some insist as the Dark Lord himself. Okay, where I just left off, Dark Lord himself. Obeah and Wanga can be looked at as Palo Mayombe, Santeria, Jamaican or Haitian voodoo. Okay, so with that being said, right, I remember I read the Book of the Law, and when I first got it, the day I got it, I went through hell to get that book. When I finally found it, motherfuckers that worked at the bookstore cannot find it. But when I found it myself in the bookstore. The people that worked there couldn't even find it. So when I found it, I read the book throughout the whole night. I didn't get no sleep until the morning. I stayed up reading that book all night. There's a reason why. I'm not going to get into that anyway. But it was a part that said to teach the Obeah and Wanga, right? All right, so Obeah and Wanga, I'm gonna get into that. All right, but I'm all the highlighted I read. Just finished this book. Got this book about almost a little over a month ago, and I've been so deeply immersed. I usually don't even go from book to book most cases, but some just told me to stay into this book, and I know why. All right, so it is voodoo of a more terrible sort than they had ever known. There were insane shouts and harrowing screams, soul-chilling chants, and dancing devil. Turn the page. Devil flames, and the frightened messenger added, "The people could stand it no more." This is by This is the part from H.P. Lovecraft, The Call of Cthulhu. Remember, Cthulhu sits in the deep, sunken city of Rayleigh, the Rayleigh text. If y'all get your hands on that, it's a pretty good book, really. So if you get the companion book, I read the Necronomicon first. I think either one, but get both. You know what I'm saying? The Hidden Leaves from the Necronomicon. So I think I read the Necronomicon first and then got the Rayleigh text. Okay. Also, now this is where you'll find, this is the part I was talking about, you'll find in the Book of the Law, which is written by Aleister Crowley in 1904 in a hotel room in Cairo, Egypt. He was with his wife Rose, and a deity came worked through him the 3 days he was in there. They was on a honeymoon. The deity came through him and gave him the Book of the Law, which is 3 chapters. So I'm gonna read you. This is an excerpt from the book. I have the book. I just don't have it with me. I believe it's somewhere else around me somewhere. But I just gotta get my hands on it. I know where it's at. I just gotta get my hands on it. Also, and this is from Al 130, chapter 137. Okay. Also, the mantras and spells, the Obeah and the Wanga, the work of the wand and the work of the sword. Now, you can from my interpretation, I know what that is, the wand and the sword. Okay, think about a wand. When you see a magician, they have a wand, right, and a sword. But it can just be an it can just be a metaphor for something else. The pineal gland and the actual penis itself. And then we just talk about sex tantra, right? Think about that. Also, the mantras and spells, the Obeah and the Wanga, the work of the wand and the work of the sword. These he shall learn and teach. Okay, so come to find out, there's some. I looked the night I saw. Sometimes when I don't know what something means, most times when I don't know what something means, I will look it up in a dictionary or whatever it is I can find to get my hands on to learn what that word means. Right? Okay. While when we just and that was an excerpt from the Book of the Law by Aleister Crowley. When we discuss the Yezidis, we are faced with very little accurate and reliable information and a lot of speculation. When we come to the African Caribbean aspect of the Necronomicon, Gnosis, we are in a somewhat different position. Okay, now these are parts that I've read through that I've highlighted. Okay. I'm just gonna fill you in so you won't feel like you're missing anything. While Haitian Vodou, commonly spelled voodoo, was just as vulnerable 100 years ago to wild speculation and hysteria as the devil-worshipping Yezidis, we have a greater store of solid information and documentation about Vodou and other Afro-Caribbean religions due to the intense interest shown by another anthropologist and historians of religion in recent years. In addition, the presence of African origin populations in the Caribbean and large communities of Afro-Caribbean origin in the United States has made Western access to these cultures easier than it is where the Yezidi clans are concerned. Since the homelands and central shrines of the latter are scattered largely through the Middle East and Central Asia in war zones, in areas hostile to outsiders. Remember, I just told you that the America, well, America's infantry or army, navy, whatever, air force, all that, has sent troops over there since like 2001, 2002, and they never really been able to come back, because they're pretty much sick. So now, so what Obeah and Wanga means, here it is. When I saw it that night, it was sometime last year, 2018, I believe, when I had that book, the Book of the Law. So I found out what it meant. Vodou, Santeria, Palo Mayombe, and Lukumi share some elements in common with the Yezidis. They do not have a written scripture per se. They frequently have been confused with devil worship, and they represent a survival of ancient forms of religious experience, in this case from Africa, a continent that they share with Egypt, which is all one continent. Don't try to obscure Africa from Egypt, or Kemet. Kemet means the land of the back face. Egypt is Egypticos from the sun, so the sun darkens your face. Well, that's just the Greek terminology. Greek is actually melanated origin too, also. So don't even get confused. All continents, all countries were all connected at one point. That's why you see melanated so-called black people on every continent, but you don't see Caucasoid or Caucasian people on every continent. Think about that. All right. They have also been exploited to some extent by non-African occultists who see in their rituals methodologies of magical practice and the acquisition of altered states of consciousness that lead to greater spiritual power and abilities, especially when interpreted within European and American non-African contexts. All right, to save on time, what I'm gonna do is break some things down very quickly. All right. Okay. Okay, right here. Bertois. Okay. This is one of the writers. He came up with a book after being around people that were doing Vodou. He wrote the Gnostic workbook. So let's go a little fast forward so I can say one time. Night side. All right. Bertois explored the night side of the tree of life, the realm of the dark lord. The tree of life is just your body. You have the front and the back. The back is the dark side. The front is the back. The front is the light side. The dark side, Darth Vader. Luke, I am your father. The Darth is the highest melanated point, the highest point of the spine, which holds most of all your melanin. Okay. In Berthiaud's case, he connected the dark side of the tree with some of the Vodou cults and practices that would be considered black magic. Black people's magic is black magic. That's their melanin, inside of you. But you don't have to use a lot of physical things anymore. You can just use your mind. In contemporary parlance, thus this coupled with the Crowley and Lovecraft references in Bertois ignited a stream of consciousness in Grant that would heavily influence his later work. Bertois acknowledged the importance of sexual ritual. We were just speaking on sex earlier, including Tantra. Tantra, you find that mainly in Eastern cultures, which, India is where all melanated people, you can find those there too. Dravidians, or they call them the Untouchables. Okay. And associated it with various types of Afro-Caribbean practice, and all within a thelemic context. This was the Obeah and Wanga, the missing elements of the thelemic arsenal of occult methods and systems. Now think about this. So we've been doing this, but we just don't have the actual history of it, of where like pretty much has its oldest form, right? That just shows we are old people. They're doing the same shit that people are doing now in the West Indies, where they're doing the same thing. look where that area is at. Everything in that area is damn near connected from Africa over into Brazil. Everything looks like a connection, right? Just grab everything and put everything together. Obe is a form of African Caribbean magic, what is sometimes called hoodoo in the South. The practice, as it is known today, has its origins in Jamaica and consists mostly of casting spells, as opposed to the more religious aspects of Haitian voodoo. There is evidence that the term comes from an Ashanti word, obeifo, meaning witch or wizard, or even vampire. You can find this in Ivor Moorish, Obey Christ, or Rastaman. That's the name of the book. Thus, it has a negative connotation. Wanga, sometimes spelled Owanga, on the other hand, refers specifically to a small bag used to hold charms in Native American medicine bag. Whereas the wanga may be prepared for anyone to wear and usually for a specific purpose, such as love, money, health, etc., and dedicated to a specific Iwa, one of the African Caribbean gods, one of the Afro-Caribbean gods. However, both Iba, Obeah, and Wanga are sometimes used as terms denoting African Caribbean occultism in general. Wanga is sometimes thought to refer specifically to works of black or negative magic. Okay, what then is the meaning or intent behind the exhortation of the book of the law that one should learn and teach the Obeah and the Wanga? Why did AWAS use these terms and avoid using, for instance, voodoo and Santeria? And to consume for time, I'm gonna say he did that in order for not everybody inside that branch of the OTO or Thelema to know it specifically, or to use that, because it wouldn't be for them, it would be for the people that's actually waking up now, because the white people are actually the custodians of that information. They were actually supposed to be holding it while melanated so-called black people are waking up. So actually, while I'm talking, you can actually be pausing this, or you can pause it if you want to hear my voice, of course. Pause and actually read the rest of this. Okay, make sure I get it at a good angle and not blurry. Okay, I'm gonna start right here. However, we have seen the consensus of opinion seems they are consensus of opinion seems to be that both Obeah and Wanga are black arts themselves. That is, they are concerned with the Kabbalists would consider the darker or night side aspect of the tree of life. See, I was just saying the dark side, the back end, the spine, and may be associated with the Kalipoth, the shattered shards of creation that are tantamount. I had to look that up. Tantamount, equivalent in seriousness to the same as, right? Okay, tantamount to demons. Demons are not bad. That means you're just like demons, you're genius, same thing. You got to dig deep to bring it to the light. So the light bearers, 666. Okay, let me get this. Focus. And the connective tissue to all this is the focus of both Grant and Birtwall of the sexual aspect of these dark mysteries. So using your magic through sex tantra, and also using, which I got my motherfucking hands on some shit today. Now, Obeah and Wanga, right? Let me go back so you can, which is Vodou and Santeria, right? Palo Mayambe, the book on Palo. Uh-oh. I've been looking for that book for the longest time, and it was in the same damn near right next to it, Haitian voodoo. So we got to start putting together. So where do you find these people at? Well, if it's that old, where the Yezidi tribe is, now think about it. If it's that old, wouldn't that be like the center of where everything came from? So that's why the West Indies and Haiti and all those places have been the harshest stuff has been damn near been done to them. So we put these together and we have a power, right? Gotcha.
Survival machine. Okay. Ferocious survival machine. Developing its chance of getting back to God. Who is the supreme survival machine? Because he walks in, on, and in between the air. Folks is so magnificent. You magnificent survival machine.
So you can't go through revolution, right? We already seen in the 60s and the 70s, because the guns of the revolution would damn near come from your oppressor or your enemy, right? And you can't go through the government, because they run that. They can make these laws and make you be trying to fight, chasing like they say, the dog chasing his tail. So check this out.
You know why Chips shot down your lady like he did?
Cause he's a nigga.
No, I think it's a little bit more than that. I think it's because of your letters, man.
You mean you showed my personal letters to you to them, huh?
I mean, the last thing we expected, come back talking about going to law school and rapping about the Constitution and a whole lot of upside-the-wall shit.
What's the point, man?
I'm talking about revolution, man.
Yeah. Revolution.
Well, this ain't the 60s, man. Our revolution ain't nothing but talk. Oh, law, it's something, it's concrete. Yeah, it's concrete, man, and it's something that I can do, not just talk about.
Hey, man, and we ain't just talking either. And we are about to serve notice on Whitey, and we want you with us.
You already got it all figured out, Mo. You don't need me.
Oh, no. We don't need nothing. We want you with us.
I hear you, man. I'm still for whatever advances the cause of the black folks. But I reserve the right to choose my own weapons.
I reserve the right to choose my own weapons, which is the mind. And this is what our people are still using, the Yezidi tribe, which is you can find in Sumeria, which is one of the oldest forms of our people.